A very good morning to you and welcome to the Morning Outlook Report. I'm Rachel Jones reporting live from 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV Sydney studios. Now the Australian share market looks set to open lower this morning as Australian share futures point to a 1% decline. The price of iron ore took a tumble as it fell below $100 for the first time in 14 months. It fell to $92.98 per tonne overnight. Yesterday, the Aussie market started the new week well into the red. The ASX 200 suffered its worst daily decline in close to 7 months. That's since February the 26th, with a loss of 155 points or 2.1% to 7,248. Roughly 90% of the top 200 stocks fell, while the benchmark index has also fallen to 2-month lows. Investors are likely cautious ahead of the US Federal Reserve meeting later this week when it discusses interest rates and when it might begin tapering current stimulus policy supporting the economy. Declines in the local market were broad, with nearly every sector in the red at the close of trade. Materials led the declines, while energy, financials and IT also underperformed. Only the utility sector improved. Miners came under pressure as metal prices were generally lower over the weekend. Fortescue Metals ended down 3.7%, with the BHP Group dropping 4.2% and Rio Tinto declining 3.6%. Champion Iron was the worst, slumping 12.3%. Now, among the improvers, electricity grid owner AusNet, their shares jumped 19%. AusNet is surging on the back of a proposed takeover offer from private equity firm Brookfield Asset Management. The improved takeover offer is for $2.50 per share after the company previously offered $2.35 and $2.45 per share in August. Yesterday, 8.9 billion units were traded, worth $9.1 billion. 259 stocks were higher, 1,293 lower, 322 were unchanged. Now moving on, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has flown to the United States to meet with US President Joe Biden after a row with France for scrapping a $90 billion submarine contract, instead to invest in a nuclear-powered fleet. China is also expected to be on the agenda when the two leaders meet. He'll also meet with European leaders during his visit. Moving on to company news now, and the New Hope Corporation delivered a net profit before tax of $111 million for the year ending 31st of July. Back in 2020, they saw a loss of $226 million. The final dividend is declared of 7 cents fully franked per ordinary share. Their full-year dividend totals 11 cents fully franked per ordinary share. Net profit after tax of $79 million last year. They saw a loss of $157 million. And De Grey Mining is pleased to report positive metallurgical test work results from its Falcon and Crow zones at Hemi. Hemi is located approximately 60 kilometres south of Port Hedland in Western Australia. The new test work follows previously reported positive metallurgical results at Brolga and Aquila zones at Hemi. The average recovery of the oxide composites was 96%. Now it's time for a very short break, but stay tuned, I'll be back soon.
Hi, I'm Sage, and get ready to take the crypto ride with me on 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV. Watch the Crypto Buzz every Tuesday and join the excitement at 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV. From Bitcoins to NFTs to Dogecoin and DeFi, we have updates about everything around these digital currencies. Understand the investing rationale and the risks involved in the space with me, Sage, on Crypto Buzz. Keep watching 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV.
And welcome back. This is Rachel Jones with the Morning Outlook Report live on 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV. Now, European share markets tumbled yesterday with the Pan-European Stock 600 index down by 1.7%. Mining shares plunge 3.6% as commodity prices slid. The German DAX index lost 2.3% as producer prices lifted by 1.5% in August. And the UK FTSE index dipped 0.9%. In London trade, shares in Rio Tinto shed 2.4%. Shares in BHP lost 1.6%. US share markets fell sharply yesterday. That's as traders track the risk of contagion from the debt crisis at developer China's Evergrande Group. Investors were also nervous ahead of the US Federal Reserve's policy meeting this week, and there were also concerns about brinkmanship in Washington, D.C. as the decline to raise the debt ceiling approaches. Caterpillar shares were the biggest drag on the Dow Jones index, falling 4.5%. Falling bond yields weighed on banks Goldman Sachs and JP Chase. Nucor Steel shares shed 7.6%, with Tesla shares down 3.9%. The Dow Jones index fell by 614 points, or 1.8%, its biggest one-day drop since July the 19th, after being down 971 points earlier in the session. The S&P 500 index lost 1.7% in its worst daily performance since May the 12th. And the Nasdaq shed 330 points, or 2.2%. Moving on to Treasury yields, US Treasury yields fell on Monday as fears that property developer China's Evergrande Group might default, and it deepened a global equity sell-off. It sent investors scurrying to shelter in safe haven bonds. The company has started to repay investors in its wealth management business with property. Major banks have reportedly been told that they won't receive interest payments on loans that are due. The company's shares fell by more than 10% in Hong Kong trade yesterday. The world's most indebted real estate developer's debt problems could see its collapse and could have a huge effect on China's economy. Meanwhile, US 10-year yields dropped by 6 points to nearly 1.31%, and 2-year yields dipped by 1% to near 0.215%. Major currencies were firmer against the US dollar in European and US trade. The euro rose to highs near $1.1735. The Aussie dollar lifted from lows near 72.20 US cents to highs at 72.60 cents. It's now at around 73 US cents. Global oil prices dropped by 2% on Monday amid growing investor concerns over the health of China's economy, and that could impact the Asian giant's appetite for crude. The Brent crude price fell by $1.42, or 1.9%, to $73.92 a barrel. US NYMEX crude price lost $1.68 to $70.29 a barrel. Base metal prices dropped yesterday. Copper and zinc fell most as investor worries about a spillover from China's Evergrande woes. The gold futures price lifted $12.40 an ounce, or 0.7%, to $1,763.80 an ounce. Spot gold was trading near $1,765 an ounce at the US close. Iron ore fell by $6.80 a tonne to a 16-month low of $94 a tonne. That's as China stepped up restrictions on industrial activity in some provinces. We'll keep an eye on that for you. That's all from our Morning Outlook report here on 𝐊𝐶𝐞 TV this morning. Have a great day trading. Stay tuned for more market updates and economic news live throughout the day. This is Rachel signing off for now.